So there is not evidence critical race theory has been explicitly taught with any frequency in Virginia public schools. Is this a case of Republican fear-mongering on this issue? Scott?
No, it's a case of Democrats fundamentally misunderstanding the voting electorate in Virginia. You had a bunch of parents who, A, spent 18 months with the schools closed, B, have to live through, all of the COVID back and forth and the mandates, C, for the first time, I imagine a lot of parents are getting a real look at what their curriculum really is in the schools, and D, deciding to show up and ask some questions about it. And Democrats essentially flipped them off and told them, we don't want you here. In some cases, they treated them like common criminals. Terry McAuliffe was campaigning with the head of the teachers union on the last weekend of the campaign. It was a big, hey, you don't belong here. We'll take it from here. And parents don't like it. Whether you call it critical race theory or whether you're just worried that teachers in classrooms are telling white kids, hey, there's something inherently wrong with you because of the color of your skin, or they're telling all students, hey, there's something inherently wrong with our country and its founding, that's what parents have questions about. And let me tell you something. If Democrats want to make fun of parents for another year, the way they made fun of them leading up to this election, they'll be even madder than they were last week. And they'll vote in even bigger numbers, and it'll be an even bigger wipeout. So, by all means, American left, continue to make fun of parents who have questions about their schools. We'll see where it gets you next November.
And Kurt, I spoke to several white suburban moms in Virginia who told me they do have valid issues, that there are valid issues with the education that their kids were receiving in Virginia that had nothing to do with critical race theory. And as I just pointed out, it is not taught with explicitly with frequency in Virginia schools. There were other issues they were concerned about, and they told me they felt like Democrats were ignoring their concerns. Let's take a listen.
Definitely the education, the learning loss was #1 for me. Everything else was below that.
Mandates and CRT did not influence my decision at all.
How about for you, Sandra?
Okay. No, mine was all about the school closures. I know people that had those issues and voted accordingly, but for me it was 100% the school closures and the learning loss.
And you feel like even right now, and not enough is being done to address their learning loss, and you view that as a crisis.
We think
it's an emergency.
Our kids are in crisis. The learning loss is real. The slide is ridiculous.
So the question to you, Kurt, is by reducing a lot of these concerns to Republicans just trying to stir up the culture war, are Democrats overlooking some legitimate concerns?
Well, I don't think those things are mutually beneficial or exclusive here. I think that both things can actually be true. Democrats could have misread the trend in education, but there is zero doubt that Republicans like Glenn Youngkin use the invented issue of critical race theory to try to scare the crap out of parents. Hey, it clearly worked. There's no denying that. It's a playbook that Republicans have washed, rinsed, and reused time and time again on a number of issues, using the issue of race as a weapon. It is pure racism masquerading as a policy debate because, as you pointed out, critical race theory is not taught in any K-12 school in America. There is no teacher out there that's trying to force people and students to think that there's something wrong with them because they're white. But we also cannot ignore the reality that our country was founded by a bunch of white people, privileged, rich, white people, and that has colored the way that our system has been set up, which is why there are so many blind spots in our education, in our justice system. This is just a reality. It's a fact. But there is truth to the reality that Democrats need to understand how to talk to people about education. And I want to tell you something. If in the aggregate, Republicans want to make every election going forward about education, about who's most interested in teaching our students, in funding our schools, in narrowing the achievement gap, we are happy to have that debate because time and again, Republicans are the ones who have voted against measures that would improve education in America, that would pay teachers more.
I got to get Scott in here to reply.
Yeah, hey, listen, I don't have much to add because I'm for Kurt for Democrat National Committee spokesperson. I hope Kurt gets hired to say this over and over and over again. If you want to tell parents, hey, you're crazy. Don't believe your own eyes. Don't believe your. By all means, go ahead. If you want to throw in with Randy Weingarten and close on the school close, by all means, go ahead.
Hold on, Scott, really quick. Kurt, hold on 1 second. I'll give you a second to say your piece, really quick. Scott, are you wrapping up? Because I got to get Kurt in to respond to that.
Hey, listen. Here's the deal. Republicans, for the first time in my political career, figured out that education matters to voters, and they were able to talk about it in a way that met voters where they were. Democrats, on the other hand, figured out how to throw in with the teachers union and all the you know, the education people who want parents to be treated like common criminals at school board meetings. And we saw where the voters lined up. Pam, you just interviewed a bunch of moms who were ultra concerned. And whether you have a kid in the school system or not, if you're a taxpayer or just a citizen, you have a right to know what's going on in these schools, what's going on in the classroom.
I got to get Kurt in because we're running out of time. Kurt.
They shouldn't be taught.
Scott made some serious claims there, so go ahead, Kurt.
Well, Scott, unsurprisingly, is lying and misrepresenting what I said. No one in the Democratic Party is saying teachers can't be involved in education. No one in the Democratic Party is saying that teachers don't.
Terry
that
McAuliffe
teachers
was
and
saying.
parents
Terry
can't
McAuliffe said it
this.
explicitly.
And by the way, last time I checked, it's Ted Cruz that's picking the fight with Big Bird right now. If you want to have a great education debate, if you want to have that one, let's do it all day long.
Fact check true, and you can't say
Kurt.
that's
Everybody
wrong, Scott. He is picking a fight with Big Bird. Man, all right, we're out of time. Wish we had longer, but you guys will be invited back. That was a really interesting discussion. Scott Jennings, Kurt Bardella, thank you. We'll be right back.